Morning, everyone, to this morning's property coffee morning. As you know, it's lockdown, and normally there isn't a coffee shop open where you can sit down like this and enjoy a lovely cup of skinny soya latte. I hope you've got your cup of coffee or your favorite beverage or tipple maybe in front of you for the next few minutes as we have our weekly deep dive, if you like, into the wonderful world of property and things happening. Today, I'm joined by guest Andrew Binstock, who I'll introduce you to in a short while. Andrew Binstock is an auctioneer from Auction House London, and he'll be telling us all about how auctions have moved online and sharing with us some of his insights about property auctions, buying or selling at them, and all the rest of it. So there's been a lot going on this week. You may know about the petition, the government petition that we instigated a few weeks ago to do with the tenant eviction ban. The tenant eviction ban is causing a lot of smaller landlords a lot of serious hardship right now, because quite frankly, if you have a tenant who's not paying the rent, it can take you a couple of years by the time you've got your property back. This is not how the system should work. Australia, New Zealand, America don't do it this way. We put out a government petition to get some signatures to support that the government look into adopting the system that works so well in Australia and New Zealand. Now, we've reached the 10,000 signatures to get a government response, which is great. And thanks to all of you for signing that petition. I'll put a link below later on if you want to get on and sign that. Now, 10,000 signatures means the government will give a response. 100,000 signatures means that it will trigger some kind of discussion in Parliament. Who knows what will come out of it, but sometimes we as landlords, property investors need to make some sort of a stand and just to say we're not happy. Other countries do it slightly differently. Other bit of news, we are very, very close to 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. And thank you guys for subscribing and watching our videos and commenting as well. I love reading your comments and what you have to say about the content that we put out. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon. We put out new stuff every week. And it's all designed to keep you on top of your property investing game. So what have we got today? Today, we're going to talk a little bit about auctions, and I'm joined today by Andrew Binstock. How are you doing, sir?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. What's yours? Is yours a skinny soya latte?
I've actually got one of those nice Nespresso machines, so I use that.
Oh, brilliant. So you are, of course, very well known in the auction community. You're the guy that holds the hammer for Auction House London.
Yeah.
It's been quite different this year, hasn't it? I mean, no more hotel ballrooms.
It's been a very strange year, Ranjan. We basically having done, over a decade of doing it the old-fashioned way with traditional ballrooms. We had 8 days to adapt our March auction. As you know, we came into lockdown, I think it was on the 23rd, and we had an auction shortly afterwards. So it was all very, very stressful. And we switched. I know you've been talking to other people about sort of online, which for me is not what we do. We do live stream. We'll come on to that in a minute. But yeah, like all my competitors, we had to quickly switch up and make a decision of how we're going to do our rooms as best we can. And thank God, I'll be honest with you, thank God. I've got to say, I think the auction industry has fared very well. If you look at how the economy has done in general, and you look at how other companies and how other, only this morning news every minute, Arcadia has gone bust. Yes. The property auction world has completely and utterly survived, and in a bizarre and twisted way is almost thriving off the back of it. So it's very strange, but good.
Now, one of the reasons I've known you for quite a long time, but one of the reasons I asked you, I wanted to get you on the show, was because that in the world of online auctions, you do things uniquely and completely differently to every other auction house in the UK. So just explain how you're doing it differently, because there's a different live experience, isn't there?
Yeah, so for me, and if you ask any auctioneer, and I think John Howard last week alluded to this, no auctioneer ever wants to switch from the theatre, the live drama, and the excitement of putting on an actual room auction to just an eBay style, you know, tap, 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 and that's it. You know, we had to think of a way of keeping the theatre, if you like, and the element of auctioneers conducting proceedings, because for me, a computer can't do what I can do. You know, forget what people say about me and my energy and my screaming and my shouting, but any auctioneer who's worth their salt and can do half decent job is going to outperform a computer when it comes to reading their audience and just sussing out whether he thinks there's another bid left in the room. I always say room, I mean, even though there's obviously no real room anymore, but it's a skill, it's an art form. It's about taking the right bids off the wall, getting the bidders on the right foot, making sure if you want them on an odd number, they're on an odd number or an even number or whatever it might be. And computers can't do any of this stuff. So I'm absolutely convinced that a vendor is going to end up having a better result if I'm shouting and screaming out the numbers than if they use what most people are doing, as you say, the simple online eBay style bidding with no human interaction whatsoever. And I think the results have borne those stats out. You know, I can obviously see what I'm doing, and I know when I'm talking to just one person and I make it feel like there's 18 people and all the rest of it. So yeah, I can see all that and I can sense all that. But there's no way, you know, with computer systems, there's a bidder 1 versus bidder 2. And you know, I actually had someone reach out to me the other day. It's a true story, and weird you brought it up, but some guy reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, can I, you know, I bought a property elsewhere, nothing to do with you, but do you mind giving me some advice? I said, sure. He basically won a property. He was convinced he'd won it on reserve, and he thought he'd been tricked into paying the reserve because he could see that it said bidder 1, bidder 2, and he knew which one he was, and he thought it was very odd that the other person stopped at the exact right moment where he then landed on a very neat round number, which he put 2 and 2 together and worked out must have been the reserve. He brought it to me, and was not going to name any names of companies. I looked at it, and without any shadow of a doubt, he was 100% right. I mean, you didn't have to be Brain of Britain to work out where the reserve price was and that he'd landed on it bang on. And he was absolutely fuming. He was threatening not to do the deal at all. He was going to threaten to take the auctioneers to everything. I said, no, the auctioneer has technically done nothing wrong. You were willing and free to bid at that price. You bid that price. You've later found out that you were duped and tricked into doing that. But at that moment in time, you were perfectly happy. And he agreed. And we sort of joked about the fact, had that been in an auction room, he would never have known. He'd been blissfully unaware for the rest of his life, and so on and so forth. So, you know, unfortunately, it's almost too obvious, and there's no skill, and it's just an automated machine doing it. And, you know, what a sad time if we ever think that that's going to be better than a real person.
Well, you'll be out of a job, mate.
You'll be out of a job. I mean, technically, I'll still be able to do the auctions because I just do it through the system like everyone else. But, you know, I think all us auctioneers, when we get together, we sort of muse about all the future. And it is true. You know, way before COVID, we were talking about whether there's going to be a future where there'll be no auctioneers required just because, banking went online, shopping's all gone online. You know, is this the next thing? But we all held on to, you know, like a comedian, like a theatre company, like, you know, the thrill of the room, like a band. I mean, you know, if you're a rock band, do you want to play live stream just down a camera in an empty room with just you and your guitar? Or do you want 10,000 people screaming at you?
You're right. It is an event. Listen, guys, put your comments and questions for Andrew in the comments box. You've obviously got lots of fans. Rex Banner is saying kudos to Auction House London. They're holding auctions like you are in the room. It's more transparent as opposed to the competitors. And another comment that's come in is about extending the closing time. Because you know how it is with some of the auctions. I mean, you get the bidding's meant to close in a minute's time, and if there are a few bids towards the end, they extend it by another minute. Yeah. But that's no different to in the room when you say, you know, going, and then take another bid over there.
It is different. It's completely different because what happens is the computers systems that everyone's using is it resets a clock. So there's a timer, and it basically. Sorry, I'm sort of juggling my screen around because I can't get the right view at my end. The timer set. So let's say, in fact, this is a great question because somebody complained again, and I saw this on a LinkedIn chit chat thread. the idea that you can start bidding at 12 o'clock on a particular lot and still be bidding for that lot at 5 o'clock in the afternoon is ridiculous. It's completely alien to the whole concept.
Has that actually happened?
Of now. Absolutely. Well, this is what happens. So let's say you and me, Ranjan, we're the last two. We're going at it. We're on one of these other, auction sites, and it gives me a 60-second countdown. I then bid one more. Right, you've now got 60 seconds to decide what to do. You then go one more. It resets the clock, and if we're both waiting to the 59th second, it just keeps going and going. And bear in mind, someone like me who's broken it down into maybe quarter bids. So if you've watched me, you'll see a lot of our auctions, we might have a £600,000 lot. When I get down to the last couple and I'm way past my reserve, my job is to get the vendor the most amount I can. So I'm going to break it into the minimum requirements just to bring that one more bid in. But I'm doing it quickly. I'm doing it as fast as I'm talking now. Yeah, do you want to pay another quarter? Thank you. Another quarter? Yes. That speed. Yeah. What I'm not doing is, would you like to pay another £250? Wait 58 seconds, person says yes. Then say, okay, great. Would you like now to pay another £250? Wait 59 seconds. He says yes, and go back. It could take 4 hours to get to the bitter end. And I think that is enormously frustrating for buyers who are used to an experience where an auction is an auction. It's a minute and a half, 2 minutes per lot. That's it. Highest bidder wins it. It's fast, it's frenetic, it's exciting. And the online system doesn't do any of that. It's sort of, and also I think as well, what about someone like you who wants to buy 3 things on the same day? They all start at the same time because they can't do, one after the other because there's no time to do all that. So suddenly you've got to have 3 different screens open. You're not quite sure what's going. It just doesn't work, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean that has been a problem. If you're interested in multiple lots at the same auction, that is a little bit of a problem. Do you feel you're losing out on the impulsive buyer? Because of course you have got to register, and in many auctions you have to put down a deposit for each lot that you actually bid for. So if you suddenly get a fascination in lot number 24 and haven't seen it and want to have a punt, there's just no way of doing that.
You're 100% right. There is a workaround, but in theory, you're absolutely right, Ranjan, and the system does take away the whimsical bidder. It does on the online and it does on the live stream. So whichever way you're going to go, the minute you're not allowing people to wander into a room, stick their hand in the air whenever they feel like, you've removed all that whimsical purchase experience. So as you correctly say, we used to load up our catalogues with all the cheaper, more impulse buying stock, to use your phrase, at the end. Why? Well, for obvious reasons. Someone that's come to buy a 3-bedroom flat in London and misses out at lot 30, but they're enjoying themselves and they're sitting and they're flicking through the catalogue. They may just buy a 25 grand house up north somewhere with a 5 grand, tenant, etc., etc. So, and also plots of land and little sites and all this kind of thing. It was ripe for whimsical bidding. The way around it now is, and we get a lot of people starting to do this, is people say, I want to bid on more than one lot. And we'll say to them, okay, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you put down, 3 deposits? How many are you realistically going to buy? And they'll say, well, I'm not going to buy more than 3 things today. So we'll say, fine. Yeah. So we'll swipe your card 3 times. We don't take money off these people, remember, Ranjan. No money ever leaves their account unless they win. So it's a brilliant system. All we do is we take 3 pre-authorizations, a bit like when you go into a hotel and they say, pre-authorize your card in case you go crazy at the minibar. And then we open them up for the whole auction. So we'll say, once you've bought 3, we'll shut you off. Or tell us the 25 lots you're half interested in, and once you've won 3 of them, then you're done, or whatever. And the girl, we've got a whole team of admin people who are watching all this from a different room. And so there is a workaround, as long as we trust you to behave yourself, and as long as we kind of, believe that you're not there just to sort of go crazy and just stupidly bid on everything, then you can approach your auction company, ask politely, can I bid on more than one lot, and come to an agreement. You might say, look, I'll bid on 8 lots, but I only want to put down 2 deposits. And then it's down to the auction company to decide if they're happy to go with that as if they trust you enough.
Yes. So, okay, we've got a vaccine coming. Let's say everyone's vaccinated and it's all hunky-dory, COVID's gone away. Are we going to go back to the ballroom?
I think the theory will be, of course, yes. but I think it's absolutely inevitable that crowds will be much smaller. I think as well, Ranjan, you've got to remember that the ballroom was a massive social event for a lot of people.
Yes.
For someone like yourself, for someone like, 50% of our room were dealers, traders, investors. And they came just for the natter. They came to see their mates they haven't seen since 6 weeks earlier at the last auction. They enjoy the coffee. You got to remember, a lot of these guys, they work on their own. They work at home. I know we're all used to that now, but this is a bit of a novel experience for a lot of people. And going out and sitting around the auction rooms was actually a really nice way to spend an afternoon. So I think you'll get those guys back. Look, one of my dealers said to me, I love all this. He said, I'll try and phrase him correctly here, but he said, this is wonderful. I used to have to drive from Hertfordshire into the West End, try and find parking, pay congestion, sit around for 10 minutes, listen to you shout way too loudly, and then leave within 3 seconds because the first bid was already higher than what I was going to go to. And then do that whole journey in reverse, and it's a 4-hour round trip for him or whatever. So he says, this is great. I log on, I listen to you, I switch off, and I go about my day. So there is a huge swathe of people that will just stay with this. There is the FOMO thing. There is that kind of fear of, if I'm not there watching it, seeing it, am I missing something? These are big payments people are making. They don't want to, a lot of experienced buyers, shall we say, want to see who they're up against, and they can't if they're not in the room. But internet bidding is here to stay. That is for sure. It's been a huge success. And, I did a post yesterday about this. It completely shocked me. I've been doing this 21 years. I always assumed, maybe egotistically or naively, that just why would anyone want to bid through the dullness of a computer screen when they could come and do it in person? But for the reasons we just talked about and the pure convenience of it, we have found 90% of all our bidding has been through the keyboard, which I find incredible. Because if you were on the phone, you can talk to my staff, you can say, go on, how many people am I up against? What's going on? Chat, am I missing something here? You got that human back and forth. You can still hear me on the screen, so you're still not sort of losing that, but everyone opts for the computer. It's just incredible.
Yes, I find that amazing. I mean, I actually bought a property from an online auction. The first one I bought was back in 2012. It was a purely online commercial auction, and it was very early days, and this company only did online auctions. And it was nerve-wracking because you simply worry about the transparency of the whole thing. All you can go on is the maximum price you are willing to pay for that property, and does it hold true to what your maximum limit is, and that's it. But what about people? I guess one thing I miss is that, and one thing I've learned a huge amount from by attending physical auctions is when I've lost, I always go to the winner and chat to them. Yeah. And I want to find out, because there are two possibilities. Either they're complete wally, overpaid, or they've thought of an angle that I don't know about, and I need to learn what that is.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely spot on. There's so much to be said for not just chatting up the winning bidder, but chatting up any other bidders, chatting up anyone who's quite clearly another professional in the room, I guess, if you're a networker like yourself. We found as well in the live room, sort of slightly on the same way that you're talking about. But if you knock down a property and there's immediately obviously a problem, i.e. the winning bidder was quite clearly someone who didn't understand what they were doing, hasn't brought any money with them, perhaps on a more negative stance, they were there as a deliberate saboteur, maybe they're the repossessed individual, or they're a tenant who doesn't want a new landlord, or whatever it might be. In the live thrill of the room, you just walk straight up to the person 4 chairs along who was the underbidder and just say, that guy isn't real, do you still want it at your bid price? Yes. Walk to the back of the room, bang bang, exchange, literally. And they might not even tell me, I might not even know that's even happened. You know what I mean? Like there's ways of dealing with immediacy of issues, which you just can't do with the online world. A lot of the time the problem won't surface until 2 or 3 days after. They're not picking up the phone, you're trying to get hold of them to confirm something on their bidding form, whatever it might. Listen, you're right, and I think the networking side of it is a real sore miss. And for people who come to auctions to win property, but also to build up their own, network of individuals they can do business with, that we're all desperate to get back in the room for that. There's no doubt.
I mean, a comment here from Imi saying that eBay proved that the concept of internet bidding worked 25 years ago. The property sector have been laggards. I wouldn't say I'd go that far, but do you think what may emerge out of COVID is just a hybrid? So, you'll be in the room, you'll be doing your thing. The people who want to be there will be there, but there will be a lot of people online.
Listen, there's a firm up in Stoke that I did a couple of emergency auctions for a few years ago, who, fair play to them, they had, as I was on the rostrum, they were doing live bids on the internet on a screen whilst all the room was ongoing, right? So this isn't new. This has been done up north for a while. We trialed it many, many, many moons ago, and I hated it. Why? Because it completely contradicted the beauty of the live room. You've got a screen with a faceless person at the end of it. It wasn't like this where I can see the person. It's just that either the screen, from memory, it went either red or green. Like, red means they aren't bidding, green was they are. It was all nonsense. You've got to sit around and wait for them. You're not sure if they've gone to make a cup of tea or if they're still at the end of the screen. It didn't work, but I guess the industry would have caught up. And I guess there is quite clearly, to answer your person's question there will, of course, be a hybrid. We will go back to our rooms. There will be a screen here with a whole array of internet bidders, and hopefully it'll be fast, punchy and quick.
Yes.
And maybe even I can see them, I don't know, like this now, where I can see if they've, because they could do this to me, go, I'm out, mate, quietly on, like Zoom style, where no one else can see them. Because the frustration is, obviously, as an auctioneer, I can't see them. With a phone bidder, okay, I can't see them, but I can hear them. And they will tell my staff, look, I'm finished. I'm well past my maximum. I just want to hear what's going on. You need that to keep the speed and the rhythm going. When you can't see the person, you don't know whether they're still there or not. It's very frustrating. So if you can overcome that, then I think you're absolutely right. A hybrid system is 100% what's going to end up happening. And it will just be fascinating. I mean, what will be really depressing, and I've had this, believe me, Ranjan, I've had this, unlike a lot of the bigger names in the auction industry, which thank God we're now one of, but I started out as a nobody. And for the first 3 years of my auction career, when no one had ever heard of me or my company, I was performing auctions to my own staff, a few vendors, and a couple of people who accidentally walked in thinking they were probably going to some event that was completely unrelated to property. And there's nothing more depressing than shouting out to an empty room and getting no response back. And we don't want that. So, I don't want to be hiring a lovely, fabulous 300-seater room with another 200 room standing around, and there's like my staff and a handful of others. So we've got to be careful that it doesn't dissipate to nothing. But I wonder, we'll all go to smaller rooms.
Well, there's a comment from Bushra saying, I loved the pre-auction talks beforehand, and obviously that's a way of bringing some people in. But another bit of a controversial question for you. Then, if we're all going online and these online auctions are taking off, which they are, what's the point of regional auctions? I mean, you've got, in your forthcoming sale, you've got properties for sale in Blackpool, but your auction house London. So what's the point in regional auctions in this new world? Why don't you just have these mega auction companies that cover the nation?
Great question. It's very difficult. As you rightly point out, there's a conversation that comes up internally a lot with some of the other branches of Auction House. The reality is, you've got London is its own world. There's investors in London who are always going to look beyond. And then you've got investors outside of London who are probably more specialists in their area. So somebody in Lincoln who's got 10 buy-to-lets in Lincoln is probably going to look locally for his next deal rather than somewhere down in Kent or whatever. It's very unlikely. And so it's always been very traditional that your big names in London are sort of multi-regional, and all your regional auctioneers sort of stick to their areas. But you're absolutely right. If you're going to a fully online world, is there such thing as regions anymore? Well, I guess it still just falls down to do I believe the regional guy has a database of specialist buyers that nobody else will know? Is someone who trades just purely in Birmingham, and I've got a house in Birmingham, am I going to get a better price by instructing the guy who knows all the people in Birmingham than somebody in London who will instead still market it in exactly the same way, but is going to be relying very much on, the property portal world and just the generic, wow, everyone knows who we are, so they all come to us every time we launch a catalogue. And there's no fixed answer to that. I mean, we do the best of both worlds. We'll typically have them involved in some capacity as well, not necessarily 100% of the time, but it's a great question. If we get to a situation where there's no such thing as auctions in a physical being manner, is there such thing as a region anymore? Do you know what? It's such a good question. It almost involves a much deeper conversation on buyer behaviour once we get back. I don't think we can possibly know. I think regional expertise is what we're going to be calling into question. Is there such thing as regional expertise?
I guess so, because with the amount of data there is out there, because it used to be, 20 years ago, you had to walk the streets, you had to really know your patch. But now it's possible to know a lot about an area from data that's available.
Yeah, you know what, you're so right. And this is something I say to people all the time. What we do is not difficult. Forget the auction side of it. Valuing a house is about the easiest thing anyone with a computer can ever do. Everyone always says to me, these are bright people. Can you help me? What do you think this is? Literally, have you got Rightmove? Yes. Have you got Zoopla? Yes. Have you got NetHouse? Yes. Have you got any form of using the internet? Yes. Right. Well, you don't need me then. It's so easy. All right, it's a bit more difficult if it's a shop and uppers with a part sold off ground rent and a roof, possible roof development. Okay, then valuation becomes more of an art form and a skill. But a 2-bed flat in a block of flats where 4 others have sold off in the last 12 months, and you can literally look at exactly what size they were and see how yours compares. It is as basic gets. So you're right, you don't need any real skills to even set a price now for a property if there's very strong comparable evidence. And I do love it when hugely intelligent individuals sort of revel in my ability to tell them what their flat's worth when it took me 6 seconds and they could have done it in the time it took to ask me the question.
So, there's plenty of comments coming in about what you're saying. I think people are loving it. The general thing, I think, is a comment from Imi, the sector's overdue a major shake-up. I guess we're all wondering whether COVID-19 has just brought forward that major shake-up and brought auctions firmly into the digital world.
Again, brilliant question. And it's really, it is an industry that has been, it's got a reputation, hasn't it? You think of an auctioneer and you think of someone with grey hair, sort of speaks with a particular voice and is a bit old-fashioned and all the rest of it. I think Auction House London, funny enough, has tried to sort of mix that up a little bit. We're a very youthful, I'm one of the oldies, but me and my partner, we're the 2 oldies, and everyone else is sort of, sub 30, most of them. And so, there isn't that kind of youthfulness that people associate with auctions. And with youthfulness comes Instagram and Facebook and social media. And funny enough, you and me were talking sort of just before we started this. We've started to really engage with and really look at our social media. And I know you're massive on all this. When did anyone last advertise in a newspaper? It just doesn't happen anymore. So it's all about the future. It's all about the digital era. Totally agree with your comment or your viewers' comment there. And I think auctions has a lot to say, has lagged. It is absolutely right. If you look at all our websites, how many of us have specialized apps? Not many of us. How many of us have even done internet bidding pre-COVID? Hardly any of us. If you think about all the other banking and this and that, when did you last walk into a bank? You pick up your phone, exactly. You check your balance.
Does all this mean we'll be seeing you dancing on TikTok?
I think TikTok is one of those. I've got 2 kids who are very into their TikTok. I now do have a TikTok account. It's only got 2 videos on there, which I've had hardly any action with. I don't really understand. I go on TikTok, I see, sort of what my 11-year-old and my 14-year-old are doing on there, and they get very excited with 1,000 views for something that looks like nonsense to me. And then there's me, what I think's wonderful content, and of course, what 11-year-old wants to watch me talking to myself, slamming fridges at me, and that video that the LinkedIn guys did for me that sort of got a lot of views there. It's obviously a different world, Ranjan. Is it a world for us? I don't know. I don't know if
it's a strange world. But you know what? I saw Andrew Lloyd Webber. Andrew Lloyd Webber's on TikTok.
Wow.
He's getting quite a lot of views at his age. But anyway, I mean, listen, auctions are seen as a bit of a barometer of the property market, and everyone's wanting to know what next for property, particularly as we get into 2021. What are you seeing? What are your insights? Are we at the edge of a crash or something, or how do you see it?
Great question, and I'll tell you what, I can't believe how well the industry's held up, and I'm sure you think the same. You know, when COVID came and we're all sitting there going, oh my God, what is going to happen? No one's going to ever buy from us ever again until this is all resolved. And we all had one dip in May where, you know, May was a bit of a nightmare. We got away with it in March. May was a bit horrible. There was no viewings. But the minute we were allowed access again, the industry just came back to life. You know, July we smashed it, September smashed it, October I think was our best auction for the last 2.5 years or something ridiculous. We can't work it out. And you've only got to look at all the portals. They're all declaring that they've had more traffic than ever. The property price, you know, Halifax, all these people are saying that the property prices have never been higher. I mean, the industry has just boomed in this backlash of an economic catastrophe, and I can only put it down to the fact that it's just the most safe asset class, you know, without sort of using cliches of living on an island and all the rest of it. But you know, there are more people that want to live in houses than there are houses, and I guess flats or whatever. And the reality is, you can't go wrong over a period of time. Of course, property does this and it goes up, but over a 10-year scale, it's always going to go up in value. People understand that. So there is a safety with the property industry and the property market right this second. Is it going to end when completion dates can't possibly done before the 31st of March? Is there going to be this massive crash in January when all the estate agents suddenly realise they can't get their deals done and everyone pulls out of anything that was under offer pre-Christmas because they realise they're not going to? I don't know. Is 15 grand going to change the London market that much? It will a bit. Are there going to be huge tax hikes next year? How are they going to claw back the billions and billions?
Yes.
What are they going to do to us lot in our industry? What are they going to do to all you buy-to-let guys out there? No one knows any of these questions and answers, but there is a real sense of just do everything now. And I've always loved this about auctions. Everything's now. You know, the future is the future.
Yes,
today is today. Who knows? I might be under a bus in 2 hours' time. You just don't know. It's all about now. We live for the next auction cycle. You're only ever as good as your last one. It's always all our traders. It's like, you know, you buy something, you just want to get rid of it, don't you? You buy it that day. If it's not something you're buying to hold, you just want it gone. You're not thinking about 6 months, 9 months, a year. You're trading it out that same afternoon if you possibly can. And that's the industry we're in. So I think right now it's strong. Of course, there's going to be a knock-on effect in March. Undoubtedly, certainly where the sort of that 500 threshold kicks in as well. How big is it going to be? We'll wait and see. I just don't know.
We got a super chat question. I got quite a few questions actually coming in, but got a super chat question from one of our viewers who calls themselves Love Life 2020. Hey guys, your thoughts on buy-to-let? They're looking particularly at a flat in Uxbridge. They think they're getting about 6% yield on that. But what's your view on buy-to-let? Because in the old days, I mean, only a few years ago, a lot of buy-to-let people used to buy their stock from auctions. It was a great source of properties which you just do a simple fix-up, refinance, pull out a lot of your money, and it's let out, producing positive cash flow. Great, nice strategy. What's your take on that sort of buy-to-let investment and picking up those sort of stock at auctions?
Buy-to-let has always been a very core part of our business. You know, people say, oh, should I get it vacant and then sell it? And I was like, no, if you've got a good tenant paying good money in there, it's wonderful for the buyer. They get there the day they complete, there's money coming in, no voids, no giving 10% away to an estate agent, all the rest of it. For me, it's, you know, you got Uxbridge, Exbridge, Knutsbridge, whatever, it doesn't really matter. If it stacks up and the money's right, if you're getting you know, the skill is always to try and get something with a slight bit of built-in equity, isn't it? You want it slightly discounted, if you can. Obviously, the higher the better, but, you know, you don't want to be paying full retail, and you want, you know, a good tenant as you can get. Look, you and I have also both been involved in tenant issues. Again, right now, COVID style, the quality of tenant has probably never been more important. It's a nightmare when you've got a tenant who doesn't want to pay right this second. It's a conversation for another day, but yeah, that is not fun as a landlord. But for getting this sort of very momentary blip of evictions and getting people out and all the rest of it, assuming you've got a decent tenant, why not? If you're getting 6% in a nice property that's got a little bit of built-in equity on the day you buy it, how wrong can you go?
Absolutely, absolutely. And another question from Happy. Best tips for online bidding. What tips can you share? I mean, obviously, it's a little bit of a conflict of interest because you want to get the maximum price, but the bidder wants to get the best possible deal.
Yeah, I mean, again,
what can you share?
The skill of being a bidder isn't. There's no sort of
leave it to the last minute.
That's the worst thing in the world, because all you're doing, you're just frustrating the exercise. You know, people always do that. They sort of wait till I go on first, second, are we all done? And then, you know, the virtual hand goes up. Yeah, great. All right, you and then I'm back in the, you know, maybe you miss it because I don't wait around for that particular one. Or you've just, you know, you're not knocking the other person out. I suppose the only trick that I've seen work, which I personally love for obvious reasons, is, and it sort of kind of only really works on phone bids at the moment, but if I'm inviting a bid of 180 and, you know, and the person on the phone just shouts 185, it really knocks the other person off, because they go, oh, crikey, this guy's not going to lose it. And the amount of times a really big bid scares the underbidder into just freezing and not wanting to compete is unbelievable. And yes, you could argue, well, that person's paid 5,000 more than when you're only asking for one. Well, they were basically assuming that it's going to keep going up in ones, and the rhythm of bidding in ones is keeping the other guy happy and alive. And the minute they reset it to a £5,000 bid, it's going to knock this person off their stride. And in the 5 seconds they've got to decide what they want to do, they're going to panic and do nothing, and then they're going to win it. And it is a strategy that I've seen work. It's worked in rooms before. It's a very intimidating thing in a live room when someone stands up and just shouts out 190 and then sits back down again, and the little old lady at the back's going, oh my God, I do not want to be going up against them. It works, and it's worked in our live stream as well. But there's no skill. You said it earlier. You've got a figure in your mind. You're prepared to go up to 200. The current bid's 180. Just bid. I mean, you're not tricking me by waiting to the last fraction of a second. You're not tricking the other person. You're just slowing the whole exercise down.
Exactly. So your next auction sale is when, in December 9th, is it?
December the 9th, next Wednesday, 8 days from here.
Next Wednesday, December the 9th. Listen, Andrew, we're a very small YouTube channel. There's no one watching. It's pretty much you and me.
Lovely.
So just between you and me, what are the best tips? What are the best lots in your catalogue? What are the standout lots, do you think, that will draw a lot of interest, or where there's an opportunity?
You're asking me for actual lot numbers?
Just talk us through what do you think is particularly interesting? It's kind of a you and me chat. Everyone else is gone.
Right, just between us, because there's nobody else here.
There's no one else.
Okay, so if I was watching this from the outside in, and I was looking at the top 5 or 6 most popular lots with a possible view of calling up our offices and seeing if there was like underwriting opportunities or anything like that, then I would probably be steering them towards lots 72, 1, 4, 9, 73 and 8, not necessarily in that order, but those have all had substantial levels of inquiries. And, you know, as the skill of a buyer, I guess, is who wants to do underwriting. I know we haven't touched on it much, but I know a lot of your viewers will know what it is obviously to you know, hopefully engage with the more popular properties. Now, of course, our job is to get the most we can for the seller, and most of the time there won't be any opportunities on those really popular lots, because why would there be? It's better off if they run to the room. But every now and again you will get a lot that has loads and loads of interest that for whatever reason doesn't actually bring real people to the final auction room. Maybe it's a short leasehold flat where there's lots of initial interest because no one can work out why it's 160,000 for a 2-bed in Kensal Rise, and then they realise, oh, hold on, there's only 9 years left on the lease or whatever, and then so suddenly the interest wanes. But, you know, there's always those opportunities, and it's just about knowing the auction company, having a relationship with them, speaking to them, asking the right questions. And then if the vendor profile fits in as well, a lot of our vendors will say, yeah, listen, if you can get me an underwrite offer at X, I'll take it, even if it is a really popular lot, because I want that guarantee. It's still miles above my reserve, and I don't know for sure that I'm going to get more than my reserve just because you're telling me there's 80, 90 people on the legals. So it's always a balance, Ranjan. It's always it's always just telling everyone exactly what the score is. Are you a gambler? Are you a risk taker? If the answer is no, Mr. or Mrs. Vendor, then maybe it is the right move for you. And this is where, people get involved.
I think the other area I wanted to ask you about is that viewings have been affected by this COVID crisis. Invariably, you go around some properties and I've seen some shops and uppers and stuff like that. You can't get access to the uppers because the tenants don't want to let anyone in because of COVID and all this sort of stuff. So that's causing a massive problem, because in some cases people have to go against conventional wisdom, which is always make sure you thoroughly look at a property before buying it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
How has that, do you think, affected things? I mean, obviously not much from your sales results, but how are you kind of squaring that circle that people can't always get in and view?
So on day one, we realised this and went straight to video walkthroughs wherever we can. So on the day we first go there, take all the pictures, we now have a mini team of people who, on their own, so they're not bringing 15 people with them, will go in. Obviously, the tenant refuses, nothing we can do. But assuming they're quite happy for just one person to go in, we'll make a video. And those videos, they're not professionally edited videos, but they go on to our YouTube channel and they basically show the property, as best as we can. And that's at least a lot better than just having internal pictures. It gives you a slight flavour for the condition, a bit more, and they go into every room. But you're right. Listen, if you can't get in, you can't get in. What can we do? We can only do what we're as best as we can. And we have had it where the tenant said, "I don't want people coming in," or "I've got COVID," or whatever it might be. And I guess vendors just have to take that on board when setting their reserve prices. Buyers will choose whether they still want to go for it. There's still loads of professional buyers who will take a view on, if I've seen 3 of the rooms but didn't get into the 4th, how bad can it be, etc., etc.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, listen, that's been a fabulous chat.
Nice talking to you, mate.
Any sort of closing comments that you'd like to share with our viewers on online auctions?
I've got nothing desperately fresh to say, other than if you are interested in buying or selling at auction, I would say don't wait and to see what happens after March next year. Who knows where we'll be, and it's just the same old. We do auctions every 6 weeks like most people are doing. Just if you've got money to spend, get involved now. The market might keep going up, it might go down, it might do this, it might do that. We don't know what's going to happen. I would just encourage people to get stuck in as quick as they can. Make sure they buy with care. Ask the right questions in advance. I've got a whole team of people there for everyone to ask questions. Transparency is out there. There's no hidden secrets anymore.
No, I agree. I think you're the key word there is now. If you're buying, make sure you get the right price now.
Correct.
And if you're selling, make sure you get the right price for now. There's no point worrying about, what's going to happen in a few months' time. If it works now, then that's the thing to go for. That's brilliant. Listen, Andrew, thanks very much. Thanks very much for joining us for... can I get another skinny soya latte, by the way? I'll get another one for you as well. And
Thank you.
it's been great joining us in our virtual coffee shop. It's the only coffee shop that's open during lockdown 2.0. We're meant to be coming out of this tomorrow, aren't we? Or back into another lockdown by another name. But that's quite another story. Okay, folks. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Property Coffee Morning. Back again next week, Tuesdays, 10 a.m. for more property related chat. If you're new to this channel and you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon. We put out a lot of content on property related matters. It's all on this channel. Andrew mentioned underwriting. We've got some videos on auction underwriting. And we'll put a link to them in the description so that you can watch those and find out what their underwriting strategy is all about and how to implement it. That's it for now, folks. Have a good day. Bye for now.